Good afternoon, Highlanders. It was so nice meeting some of you today. I'm looking forward to meeting my other classes tomorrow and Friday. This right here is the notes for your first major assignment, which is a review of linear functions, graphing linear functions, and solving linear functions. Remember that PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Or what some people will say is, please eat McDonald's after school. P stands for parentheses, and that means you need to do anything inside the parentheses first. Well, here, this -9 and this 5 can combine, so we're going to rewrite this as 4x plus half times the quantity of 6x minus 4 equals -2 minus the quantity of 7 minus 9x. After parentheses is exponents, there is no exponents. Multiply or divide, whatever comes first. Well, this half is distributing, and this -1 is distributing. So I'm going to rewrite this. 4x plus half of 6 is 3. So it's 3x, and half of -4 is 2. Equals -2. And then -1 distributing is -7 plus 9x. I'm going to combine like terms. And so that's the adding and subtracting part. So if I just look on this left side, 4x and 3x is 7x. And then -2 and -7 make -9. Then you're going to solve for x. Now you're going to move things from one side to the other side of the equation. So if I go ahead and I subtract the 7x, and add the 9, I get 7 equals 2x. And if I solve for x by dividing by 2, whoops, I apologize for that, I get x equals 7/2. Please leave your answer as a reduced improper fraction. Don't change it to a decimal. Okay? You don't need to worry about changing that to a mixed fraction. So if you take a look at the next two examples, there is no parentheses. There is no exponents. So you might go, what in the world do I do? Because I have fractions. So anytime you have fractions, you want to get rid of the fraction. By multiplying by the least common denominator. Okay. So the least common denominator between 3 and 5 is 15, because if you count by 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and you count by 5, 5, 10, 15, they both reach to 15. So our goal is to multiply each one of these terms by 15, not just each fraction, each term. So this top number in the numerator is multiplying, the bottom is dividing. So we're going to divide first. You're going to go 3 goes into 15. You don't have to divide first. I just like to because it's easier to work to small numbers. So 3 goes into 15 5 times. And 5 times 1 is 5. 5 goes into 15 3 times. And 3 times 4x is 12x. Equals 3 goes into 5 5 times. And 5 times 2 is 10. Then you're going to combine like terms. By adding and subtracting, I can combine both of those because they're x's. So we get 17x equals 10. And when I solve for x, I'm going to divide by 17. So x equals 10 over 17. Again, just make sure it's a reduced fraction. Okay. So I have fractions. So I want to get rid of them by multiplying by the least common denominator. Now, if I'm going too fast, feel free to pause. This is a video, so you could always pause, try it on your own, and then see what I do. So I'm looking for common denominator between 4, 3, and 5. Well, let's see. We already said between 5 and 3 is 15. So if I were to count by 15s, 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, 90. If I count by 4s, I get 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 44, 48, 52, 56, 60. Oh, they both reached just 60. So the least common denominator between 4, 3, and 5 is 60. So I'm going to multiply this by 60, multiply this by 60, multiply this by 60, and multiply this by 60. So again, the numerator is multiplying, the denominator is dividing. So 4 goes into 60 15 times. 15 times 1x is 15x. Minus, there is nothing underneath this 3 but a 1, so I can't reduce this. I just multiply negative 3 times 60, which is 180, equals. 3 goes into 60 20 times. 20 times 2 is 40. 5 goes into 60. That is 12 times. And 12 times negative 6x is negative 72x. So I want to solve by combining like terms, but I don't have any like terms. So I'm going to have to move things from one side to the other. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add the 180 and add the 72. So I get 87x equals 220. And when I divide by 87, I get x equals 220 over 87. Yes, your answers could be fractions. Okay. All right, reviewed really quickly earlier about how to graph linear functions. Remember, in y equals mx plus b. So first thing you want to do is the steps here. Is you want it in y equals mx plus b form. Second thing you want to do is you want to identify what b is. Remember, that's your y-intercept. And next thing you want to do is you want to identify what m is. And m is your slope. It's your rise over your run. So y equals negative 4x plus 5. Okay, that's already in y equals mx plus b form. So I'm going to figure out what is b. Well, b is where you begin. 5. So you always begin on the y-axis. So up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Didn't realize how poor these graphs transfer over. I have to fix that. And then m is the one always attached to the x if you have an x term. If you don't have an x term, then you may not have an m, or that might be a special kind of slope. We have to write that as a fraction. So we write our m as negative 4 over 1. Because it's negative 4, instead of going up 4, you're going down 4, right 1. So we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, right 1. Down 1, 2, 3, 4, right 1. Down 1, 2, 3, 4, right 1. And we could do the opposite of down 4, right 1, which is up 4, left 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, left 1. And then I can connect them. Not my best line, but that's okay. So let's take a look at number 2. It's not in y equals mx plus b form, so we want to solve for y. So if I want to solve for y, first thing I want to do is I want to move this 3x over. And when I move that 3x over, I'm going to leave that negative 4y equals 4. When I move that 3x over, it becomes negative 3x. We're going to solve for y, so we're going to divide everything by negative 4 and be very careful with the signs. So y equals 4 divided by negative 4 is negative 1. Negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 3 can't divide by 4. So where do I begin? And I know some of you might go, but wait a minute, it's not y equals mx plus b form. So if you want, you could rewrite this as y equals 3/4 x minus 1. Y equals mx plus b. So where do we begin? We begin at negative 1. And remember, we always begin on the y-axis. We're going to go down 1. And our m is the one that's always attached to the x. So our slope here is 3/4. Positive 3 means to go up 3. 4 means to go right. You always go to the right for the denominator. So from here, we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, right, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we could do the opposite, down 1, 2, 3, left 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So similar, I have to solve for y. So again, negative 2x plus 5y equals negative 10. I'm trying to solve for y, so I got to move this negative 2x over. So this 5y is staying. This negative 10 is staying. But when I move that negative 2x over, it becomes positive 2x. When I divide by 5, it's y equals negative 2 plus 2/5 x. Or, if you prefer, you could do y equals 2/5 x minus 2. So y equals mx plus b. Where do we begin at? We're going to begin at negative 2. And what is our slope? Our slope is 2/5. So 2/5, because it's a positive 2, you're going to go up 2, right 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could do the opposite of up 2, right 5, which is down 1, 2, left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So y equals negative 2. Now, these are special lines like we were going over in class. Remember, special lines either are horizontal or vertical. This says to start on the y-axis. So we're going to start on the y-axis at negative 2. And we're going to karate chop through the y-axis. So we're not on the y-axis. We're going, oops, that's not through the y-axis. Very common mistake. Let me go back and do that again. So we need to start on the y-axis. So here is negative 2 on the y-axis, and we want to go through the y-axis. Okay. The last two problems that I want to review is going backwards. How would you write the equation of the line? We're going to put the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. So y equals mx plus b. Okay. So right here, we want to look for where it crosses the y-axis. So that's the very first step. So look for the y-intercept. Okay. Step number 2, determine the slope. So here we're going to look for a y-intercept. That's where it crosses the y-axis. This is where it crosses the y-axis. So B is -1, -2, -3. And we're looking, how do I go from one point to another point? It doesn't matter which point you pick. It's just how do we go from one spot to another spot? Well, we're going up 3, right 2. So it's going to be y equals 3/2 x minus 3. And our last one, again, look for the y-intercept. Okay, so looking for the y-intercept where it crosses the y-axis. So the y-intercept is b equals 0. Look for the slope. It doesn't matter which point you go to. Okay, how do you go from here to here? We're going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So going down 6 is a -6. Right 1 is a +1. Okay. So if I were to rewrite this, it's going to be y equals -6/1x plus 0. Or you could just write it y equals -6x. All right, I hope these were helpful. If you have any questions, remember you could always reach out to me on Google Classroom or Remind or come to tutoring. Have a great day.